Hello, welcome back. It's me, Kirstyn, and today I wanted to talk about my book of the month. So I think this will be like a little series I'm going to introduce on the channel, but it's a personal goal of mine for 2022 this year to read at least 12 books this year and read a book every month. So they're two separate goals, but they work very, very well together. And I just felt like saying at least 12, like I can't fail if I'm doing both. But ideally I'd like to read like 15 this year. So that is my goal, kind of, for reading. And I feel like I like to share I like to share everything. That's why we're here. But I like to share about the books I'm reading. So I thought, why not share the books I read like after each month? In this video, I'm going to share the books I read in February and then also January because I didn't have a channel yet and so I didn't share it. And it's a great book. So I'm going to share the 3 books I've read thus far, and then I will tell you what I'm going to read next month, aka March, and then we'll talk about it next month. So yes, it's kind of like a little book clubbing more or less, but very excited to share. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So we're gonna start with January, and in January I read The Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom, and apparently he has written quite a few like kind of faith-based different books that make you think, but this particular book I saw it at Target. It's a very different read for me, but I really enjoyed it. How do I talk about it without giving anything away? I mean, I'm not gonna read the little, well, maybe I should. What would happen if we cried out to God to help? Let's try again. What would happen if we cried out to God for help and someone claiming to be God actually appeared before us? In Mitch Albom's profound new novel, a group of shipwrecked passengers must face that challenge when a strange man they pulled from the water says he can save them all, but only if they believe in him. So basically, these people's boat gets shipwrecked, they're on a lifeboat, and then they pull some guy out of the ocean. He says, someone's like, thank God. He says, I am God. And that just spurs like a whole thing. And it's very like twisty turvy. It kind of makes you think like, what would you do? It's just very pulling. And then by like the middle section, it just gets so freaking good. You're like, wait, I gotta go. And I like how it's written. It's written from the point of view of a passenger on the boat. Oh, there's a piece of hair. God. It's written from the point of view of a passenger on the boat, and he's like writing a notebook to his love, and it switches between that, which because you're reading it, that feels like present, but technically it'll be past. And then when the news was happening at that same time, but what people who weren't on the boat were seeing, and then the present, which I think is just called Land. So it's a really cool read, and I really liked it. I really recommend it. I think I usually read like books that are pink or they're self-help books, so it was very different for me, but I think it's like cool, interesting, and punchy enough for like anybody, no matter your typical genre, could read, because it even has like the same kind of adrenaline rush that mystery books typically have. So I don't know, it's very good read, highly recommend. The second book I read this month, I could talk about it literally forever. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. I am literally obsessed. As you can see, there are all kinds of like sticky notes there. I have notated this to hell and back. Like, it is by Kirio Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. I don't want to butcher their names, but there'll be a picture of them on the screen. So someone was just like, it changed like the way you think. This book literally changed my life, and I think it will change everyone's. I want everyone to buy it. If I hadn't have like highlighted and like written in it so much, I would have like just feel like it's a book where it needs to get around the world, and so I would just give it to people and like let it go on its own life journey. Reading this book could change your life. This book literally changed my life. Is happiness something you choose for yourself? The Courage to be Disliked presents a simple, straightforward answer. Using the theories of Alfred Adler, one of the 3 giants of 19th century psychology, alongside Freud and Jung, this book follows an illuminating dialogue between a philosopher and a young man. There's a lot more there, but this is what I will say. I love how it's written like a conversation between the philosopher and the youth, and the youth really represents all of us who don't know about Adlerian psychology, and it is just so enlightening. Like, let's really get into it. Okay, I felt like we were having a serious conversation, so I needed to like sit up and talk about it. This book is so eye-opening and just like, it's very, I don't know, some people have described it as like harsh truths. I wouldn't say harsh, but I'm someone who's just recently done 2 years of therapy. My therapist said I'm someone who's good at therapy. I'm very self-aware, self-reflective. So like maybe, and I'm a Virgo, I'm like super critical and stuff. So I think maybe I'm just like prepared to constantly be like, your opinions ain't shit. So, you know, prepare yourself for that. But I'm trying to like think. It's definitely, I know, like when I bought it, I didn't understand what the little premise of it even meant, but I'm just so glad I like bought this book. I use so many words now when I'm talking to people and about life. I'm just like, that's not my task. Like having courage to do things, like, you know, you hear lots of quotes all the time. If you're familiar with the Skinny Confidential podcast, I think Michael is quite an embodiment of a lot of these philosophies, when he's like, your life's in your own hands, like you have to change, like you can change your life at any moment, like that's not for you to worry about, that kind of stuff. Like you hear quotes like this, but it never really gives you a roadmap or puts the pieces together, and that's what this book really does. Like I literally have a sticky note called The Golden Ticket of Value and Self-Worth, and then the same thing, I have one called This is Happiness, and he literally tells you like what the secret to happiness. And just like the character, the youth in the book, sometimes he says things and you're like grappling, you're like, no, that can't be, because you're very, long story short, we have been taught etiology and a lot of Freudian point of view psychology as our normal way of doing things. This book reinforces and introduces a lot of times to Adlerian psychology, which has become very normalized in some ways and practices, so you're not going to be completely caught off guard with some of these like theories and points of view. However, we've never been taught it like this, and it really challenges everything we've known, because we kind of have taken Freudian psychology and etiology as word, and Adlerian psychology is just different. And if you don't know what those people are, you'll learn in this book. But quickly, even quicker summary, we think, most of us, especially in America, think a lot of life's a hill, we're going uphill, working to get to the mountaintop and reach some goal. Adlerian psychology that's etiology, Freudian POV, like your past dictates the future. Adlerian psychology is, there is no just straight up to a goal. You are constantly, every moment means something. Real boiled down. Yes, love this book, highly recommend it. I've told every single person in my life to get this book, read it. It is so amazing. You're not too young, you're not too old. This is pivotal. Okay, so in February, I assigned myself 2 books to read. I read this one a couple days into March. It's March 5th. I finished yesterday, last 30 pages. But it is Emily Rajadowski's My Body book, and it is, in case you don't know, a book of essays written by model Emily Rajadowski. And I read a lot of online reviews for this book when I was thinking about what I would say for my description of it. It's quite the hard book to describe, but I think one of the more accurate things I read online was that I think no matter what point of view you're coming into reading this book, it will be very eye-opening and enlightening in some way. It is a little uncomfortable at times because, like I saw online, she does share information. It's all about her personal experiences, but other people are sometimes intertwined in that. And there's some people who I think deserve to be called out, some sleazy, rude, horrible, misogynistic men, who I'm like, you know what? Air them the fuck out, sis. And then there's some people that I think, you know, she doesn't mention anyone by name, but everything's easily Googleable. I think, why put their business on blast, especially some other like girls' choices, and like, why did they need to be really that detailed wrapped into this conversation? However, I did like the book. I think I would not reread this. I highlighted like 1 or 2 things in here, but I think it very much, if you're familiar with the term pretty privilege, it talks about the dark side of that, and it really revealed to me how sleazy like LA and like the media entertainment industry is in ways that I didn't really like consider. Maybe sleazy is the wrong word, but very misogynistic. And I think that was an eye-opening read. So if you're someone who's considering getting into like entertainment, modeling or something like this could be important to read, because you're really gonna have to know yourself and stand on yourself before you get into it. I think they're well written. It's very easy, bite-sized, conversational. I think it's a cross between all the things I just said and then a biography. So I'm not a huge biography person, so I think that kind of deterred me at moments from the book. But Emily Rajadowski is I think it's very smart to talk about how she starts it about her body and how she ends it and some of the things she's went through. I think it was very smart because Emily Rajadowski in particular was very known for her body. Like, she had great abs, like her physique. She talks about how she even got that body and just had to keep it off. And it's eye-opening, to say the least. Very eye-opening. So I think it's a good read. I think it's a good read if you're somebody who's like, I want to move to LA, I want to get into entertainment, or maybe if you're somebody who has had comparison issues with like comparing yourself to other women, other girls, like, you know, things like that, it would be a good read for you to kind of challenge your points of view on that. I would give it a 7 out of 10. So, you know, read that what you will. Okay, so that is all of the books that I read so far this year. That was January when I read Strangers in the Lifeboat, and I give that book a, I don't want to be like too much, but I give that book like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it was a really good read. And then in February, I read The Courage to Be Disliked, 10 out of 10, 10 across the board, 20 out of 10, life freaking changing book. Get it for your mom, get it for your dad, get it for your brother, sister, dog, your cat. Everyone needs to read the book, okay? Great. We're on the same page with that. Get the book. 10 out of 10. Amazing. And then I read Emily Rajadowski's My Body book, also in the month of February, and I give that a 6.5 out of 10. So yeah, going forward this March, I'm actually reading a book in conjunction with my two best friends, and we will be reading Atomic Habits. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.